Hey everyone, this is Stefan from Project Life Mastery.
And I'm Tatiana from LUXX Health.
And today we're going to share with you guys 10 relationship tips for having an amazing relationship.
And these are tips that have really helped us, and that's why we want to share them with you.
Yeah, so let's dive right into it. Tip number 1 is to have a vision and goals for your relationship. Now, I feel this is really important because a lot of people, they're in a relationship, but they don't really have a vision that they're moving towards. They don't have goals that together they can move towards and be able to accomplish or be able to manifest or create. You know, I feel like oftentimes at the beginning of a relationship, people might have the goal just to be with that partner or to be in a relationship with them or to maybe eventually start a family with them. But oftentimes as relationships grow and as they go on, a lot of couples lose that vision. They lose that goal, and they often, may have their vision for their business or vision for their health and body, but they don't realize that their relationship is something that you also have to have a vision for. A vision in the sense of having a picture in your mind of how great or how amazing it can be. And when you have that, that's what you're going to put the work in for, so that you can both grow together, evolve each other, help serve each other, so that you can create an amazing family life, more love, more passion, more adventure. Maybe it's traveling the world together. Maybe it's to contribute together in meaningful ways. And just really have that strong communication, that foundation. I think it really all starts with having that vision, those goals that you're moving towards.
Absolutely, and it's so important that you're aligned in that realm, because it's one thing for one partner to have a vision for their relationship with you, and then you to have a different vision for your relationship with them. But it's important that you're aligned. So if one partner wants to have kids and the other person doesn't want to have kids, well, they're not aligned with their vision for their relationship. So we recommend just sitting down together, having no distractions, maybe an hour of your day, and just listening to the other person, coming up with ideas together, and just writing down a real vision for your relationship, and then goals maybe for that year of things that you want to do or activities that you want to do together.
And we have a journal, relationship journal, where we have this written down. And every month or so we go through this and we reflect on our vision, and we just remind ourselves what we want to create long term. This vision is 10 years, 20 years, even 30 years out. We're thinking that far ahead, and then planning out the goals. Whenever we plan out the year, we make sure that our goals are in alignment. So, travel goals, contribution goals, self-development goals, health goals, so that we're both moving in the same direction, doing the similar things, because otherwise, like she said, if one person wants to, travel the world, the other person doesn't, then that's going to be a conflict. And it's very important to make sure you discuss that ahead of time in advance. You're on the same page in your relationship, moving in that same direction, supporting each other along the way in order to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And this brings us to tip number 2, which is growing together. So by setting these goals and having this vision together, you really set yourself up for an amazing future of growth in the relationship. So, we go to a lot of seminars and a lot of events, different kinds, not just business, but most of those things, when possible, we do them together. And we do it because we're both going to benefit from the content, but we're also both going to grow. Sometimes you might have experienced this where you go to an amazing seminar and then you come home and you're excited to tell your partner, but you can't really explain the depth of what happened. It's hard to explain something, you have to experience it. So for example, Tony Robbins events that we go to, it's nice because we don't even have to explain it, we get it. We've been there, we've experienced it together, we've grown so much. So we really put an emphasis on just growing together in whatever way possible.
Yeah, and you're either going to grow together or you're going to grow apart. And unfortunately, a lot of relationships, a lot of couples, they grow apart. If one person is going off, they're into self-development and they're going to seminars, they're learning, they're growing, and they're accelerating their life like this, but then the other partner's not into that. They're not into self-development, they're not into growing, they're not coming to you to the events or pushing their comfort zone, and then they may stay stagnant. They might feel like they're getting left behind, or they might be going in a totally different direction as you are. And oftentimes over several years, you might find yourself in a totally different direction than that person. And I think growing together, not just self-development, but every aspect of life. We try to make sure that we're growing together with health. We're both super into health, we're learning about it, trying to become healthier, more fit, more alive, and we're able to grow together in that direction, versus if you might be with your partner where you're really into health and fitness but they're not, then what's going to happen, you're going to feel like they're holding you back, or they're going to feel like you're going in a different direction than they are, and again, that could be the beginning of the end. So making sure that you're growing together, and you're also investing in your partner. Invest in their growth, invest in their journey, so that they can be at their best, and then they're going to do the same thing for you, and then that way you're both at your absolute best in life, and you're on the same page and going to be able to manifest that vision that you have.
And having said that, that can bring us to tip number 3, which is unconditional giving and love. And investing in your partner might be something that's a little bit hard for you to do in the beginning. You might have some barriers with that, but really, to have an amazing relationship, you just have to give that unconditional love in whatever form that might be. For us, we're always giving each other love. We never hold back. We never deny each other of anything. And knowing how to give that person that unconditional love is very important as well.
Yeah, and that requires you just having the courage to give and just be vulnerable and love that person no matter what. So there might be times in your relationship where you feel insecure, you feel afraid, you feel vulnerable, you feel a little bit selfish at times, or maybe you're upset with your partner that you're with, and you want to punish them or hold back and withhold your love. And anytime that you withhold your love, you withhold you giving unconditionally, then you're hurting the relationship. You're actually hurting the whole cause and what you guys are in this for. And so in a relationship, you have to be more mature, even at times more spiritually mature, where even if they might not deserve it, even if you're upset, even if it's unfair, even if they're trying to hurt you, even if they're reacting, they're stressed, whatever it might be, you have to make sure that you remove yourself and you focus on serving your partner, just loving unconditionally and meeting their needs. And that requires you to understand what their needs are and meet what their needs are, not your needs. Because sometimes we give what we think, what we want, but your partner might have a totally different needs that need to be met that requires you to get outside yourself and focus on what does she really need from me? How can I love her? How can I support her? How can I give to her unconditionally? And it requires effort, requires work, it requires a new standard, but it's that standard of both people giving unconditionally to one another that's really going to create an amazing relationship.
And I mean, for men and women, but I can definitely speak for a woman, sometimes when you withhold love, there can be a sense of power to that. And really that power stems from insecurity. And it's really, you need to understand that that is the worst thing that you can do for your relationship. In the moment, it might feel like this is the only way to protect yourself as a defensive mechanism, but really withholding love in any form is really such a disturbance to a healthy relationship. So we make sure to never do that. And if it does happen at some point in time, we openly communicate that. Which brings us to point number 4 is communication. It's such a simple term, such a simple concept, but so many couples have such challenges with communicating healthily in their relationship. It becomes such a problem because one partner might not feel the open space to freely communicate their emotions and feelings. But how does that happen? How can people be in an amazing relationship, but one person feels afraid to communicate something to their partner? How does that get to that point?
Yeah, well, I think a big part of it's fear. A lot of people, they're afraid to really express themselves because sometimes if something's bothering you, maybe something that your partner did or said is bothering you or affecting you, or you might have a different vision than they might have. And in order to please that person, sometimes you might not bring that up. You might not want to offend them. You might not want to be able to cause any friction in a relationship. But what happens is when you don't communicate that, then it builds. And it can often build resentment within yourself. And eventually it gets to that point where you just explode on the person. It comes out of nowhere because it's been building up. Whereas if you have open, honest communication from the start, and you express it, and you're being fair to your partner as well, and it's going to help you be able to actually have a discussion, a communication about that and resolve things and just make sure that things don't get worse than what they need to be. It's much easier to deal with a problem when it's small versus when it's a lot bigger. And unfortunately, that's what happens in a lot of relationships is the problems grow, they big. They don't even talk about or discuss, a lot of these things that are very important. And one thing that's helped us is having a system for communication. So every week or every month, actually having a ritual that we have to actually check in on the relationship. Just like you might with a business goal. In business, you've got goals and you do a regular check-in with your team, you communicate, you discuss, you resolve things. Doing the same thing in a relationship where you check in and just find out how their needs are being met, or what challenges or problems, or how can we grow our relationship, and having that open communication so that you can proactively move towards your vision in the direction that you want to go and have that amazing relationship, but also address anything that might have come up, anything that might be bothering the other person. If you regularly do that on a weekly or monthly basis, then you'll ensure that there's open, clear, and honest communication in your relationship, and it's not going to get to that point where it's something happens out of nowhere where things get bad or uncomfortable or whatever it might be.
Yeah, so let's break that down just real quickly for them. We mentioned our relationship journal. This is how we create that space. So maybe throughout the week, you're not really feeling in that safe space to openly communicate about something that's really heavy on your heart. But if you're dedicating 1 hour per week and you have it in your calendar, both you and your partner, or maybe it's once per month, then in that moment, in that time frame, you're able to then have an open discussion about whatever it is that's been bothering you that week, and just really open the space so that there's no judgment, there's no criticism. And what we also do is something that might help you is dyads. So dyads is a great way, something that we learned that's really enhanced the relationship, where one person's speaking and the other person does not respond. We have another video on this that goes more into depth. Maybe we could create a new one. But basically the dyads allow for that open communication without any reaction really from the partner. And sometimes we don't communicate because we're afraid of that reaction. So that's a great tip for you guys. Look at more into dyads because it's definitely going to help.
Yeah, and the key to that is not, when you give your partner that space to express or share, your job isn't to debate or argue or have your opinion. That's irrelevant. All you're going to do is just let them speak, let them share, and just thank them for that. Give them that space to be able to communicate without you reacting in whatever type of way. And you're giving them that space, and then they give you that space as well. And it's a very effective way, because your job when they're sharing and they're opening themselves is not, again, to judge or yell or argue or say you're right or you're wrong. It's just to love them and support them and focus on what they really need and just serving them the best way that you can. And kind of leads to the next point that I want to throw into, the next tip that we got for you guys, is to really know your partner's intent and to really trust that fully. Because in order to have a really great relationship, there's going to be times throughout a relationship where your partner's stressed or they're going through a tough time. And often, when you're stressed or tired or whatever it is you might be going through, you might react in certain ways. Your partner might get upset with you or snap and say something negative or say something mean. You might be hurt by that. And it's really important to understand and know and trust your partner's intent fully. I know that no matter what Tatiana does, I know her intent is pure. She's amazing. She's honest. She's loving. I know who she really is. Okay, I've decided on that a long time ago. So no matter what she does, I'm going to always know her intent and love her unconditionally. It might come up in certain behavior where she's stressed and reacts a certain way, but I know that her behavior is not really who she is. That's just a manifestation of the stress that she might be going through, or an insecurity or a fear, or who knows what that is. So when you really know and trust their intent, that allows you to understand that no matter what's going on, I'm going to still continue to love this person. I know their soul. I know their spirit. We're going to be together. We love each other. And when you know that and you trust that, that gives you a sense of certainty and confidence in your relationship that no matter what goes on, you're going to still love this person no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. And we follow this 100%. So, by no means is any relationship perfect, and neither is ours. But by knowing that we come from pure hearts and we both love each other so much and we have a great and honest intention for each other, no matter what happens, we know that it's okay. It's not what's happening in the moment. It's like, okay, we understand that you might react a certain way to whatever is going on in your life, but we know that your intent is good. So if I, for example, feel very offended by a way that he spoke to me, because I know his intent is pure, I might say, okay, right now he's not in the mindset to be having a discussion about this with me, but maybe at the end of the day, we can talk about it and then we can have that open discussion. Because I know his intent is pure, it allows for that open discussion. So everything kind of flows together, and that's why it's really important to that's why these tips are on this video, because we feel like everything is so valuable in our relationship.
For sure. So we've got 5 more tips for you guys, but we actually decided to break this video up and do a bit of a collaboration. So in order to follow the 5 additional tips that we have, I'm gonna link to the second part of this video that's gonna be on the LUXX Health YouTube channel. So to find our remaining 5 tips, click on the link, head on over to LUXX Health, and you can watch the remaining 5 tips.
Don't miss it. There are gonna be some hot tips there, so head over there right now.
Awesome. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.